So you've got a lovely tonal difference there, a very light tonal value and a very dark tonal value. Love it when you get a really amazing colour. When I've finished a painting, I always leave it for a few days, maybe even weeks, to see if I really like it. You see the painting with fresh eyes and spot the problems. And I decided I didn't really like this. Looking at it now, since it's dried, I'm less enthused about this area here. When acrylic paint dries, it dries very flat. One way of bringing that luminosity back to the paint is to actually put a coat of varnish. Alternatively, put a layer of liquid medium, paint a layer across the finished painting. This acts as an isolation coat so that it sort of protects the layer and it brings back the sheen. You could use a gloss or a satin. You can use matte if you want it to be a matte finish, but that does dull down the paint. If you go back to it, you can paint over that. Now you can't paint over a lot of varnishes because the paint doesn't adhere over it with an acrylic fluid medium, which is a transparent medium, and it just brings back the life to the painting. Now I haven't done this with this one because I know already that I'm not 100% satisfied with it. So what aren't I happy about? Well, I quite like this background. It's very loose and I do like the actual colours that I've got here. I love this little patch of lavender there, and I do like some of the elements in here. But some of these tulips, I think I was deciding they were going to be tulips, they just seem to be, it just doesn't seem to work. And some of these colours here, it just seems to be a bit muddy looking. So I'm going to go back in and I'm going to see what I can do about it. Now, just looking at it just now, there are a couple of things that I'm going to point out which I think are important to try and retain, and maybe that's this colour combination here. First of all, there's a big tonal difference between these two, which is always great in a painting, but we need probably a little bit more of it going on. And also, these colours are complementary colours, so they look fantastic together. Now, that was probably accidental. I don't even remember painting that, but looking at it now, I think it really does look good. You don't want it absolutely everywhere, but it's probably something that I could introduce in a couple more places in the painting. The reason for that is it will lead the eye through the painting. The other thing I really like is, what's the other thing? I saw it and now I can't see it. Oh yes, here. This here. So you've got a lovely tonal difference there, a very light tonal value and a very dark tonal value. And those are the elements in a painting that will draw your eye in. So if you now look at this painting, you will see this and you will see this. And then in some areas, down here for example, the tonal differences are very, very slight. They're all very dark tones. That's not a problem as long as the whole thing isn't of similar tonal value, because sometimes it's really lovely to have a passage of paint where you have similar tones and you can sort of dive in a bit closer to look at them and just sort of appreciate that sort of quietness in the painting, whereas this is a bit more kind of let's have a party. Again, we've got it here, that lovely tonal difference. So I'm going to go back into this painting and see what I can do, and I think the key here is being bold and not being too precious about what you've got and worrying about losing it, which is tough, particularly as there are some elements that I really do like. Anyway, I'm going to go back in, and this is really to help you to understand the sort of process and how it can be quite lengthy. I'm using cadmium pale yellow. I really like pale cadmium yellow because you get sort of brighter greens from it. I'm going to take not a particularly small brush, a filbert, which is this one, which has got the rounded end, and it's nylon. So I'm just going to mix up a bit of this yellow with some green that I've already got on my palette, and see what happens. So I'm just actually, I think I'm going to paint out some of these, just paint around them. It's going to take me a while to get into this. Have you noticed that when you start painting, it takes you forever to get into it? Because you need to warm up. I probably ought to just get cracking on a different sheet of paper or something, you know, just a sheet of paper, just to sort of get going. But hey, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for it. I do want some of the darks to remain, and I do want some of these. I quite like some of these funny colours I've got going on here, but maybe not all of it. And I haven't been quite careful, and as I say, it's because I haven't really warmed up. I want quite a dark colour going on there, a dark green, so here, but I don't like that sort of olivey green I've got at the moment. I just think it looks a bit wishy-washy. Maybe it needs to just be darker. So I've got a grey on my palette, and I'm just going to add that to some green and see it's an olive colour again, but I'm going to get rid of that pink in there because I just don't like the pink in there. And of course you can sort of, and you can see how sort of rough I'm being. You know, I'm not, and also I think it benefits, to be honest, having more layers. I've got to be careful not to lose that edge. I can always paint it back in again, but I'm quite liking that very dark. I've got a bit of Prussian blue, which is quite a dark colour, which I think I'm going to try and get in here. And I'm just going to go over some of the greens that I have already painted in, and I'm going over that lighter yellow with that green. I've got, I think, some sort of very dark green in the trees, which I'll just dot through. I just think I need, again, more dark. So I've got ultramarine. I have got a tiny bit of black, but I'm sort of softening it with brown. I'm not sure I like the black in it, to be honest. I don't often use black, and I've got it on my palette, so I'm thinking, oh, I'll use it up, but I don't really use it very often. So I'm going to get some more interest into here, so it's not all, you know, it's not all one colour. Now, immediately you can see that's kind of lost that edge, but I'm going to just add another green in here because I think it just adds to it. Now, okay, I've got to sort out some of these flowers because some of them are just too big, and some of them are just a funny shape, and some of them are too similar to each other. So that's how I'm doing it. I'm just painting round it like that. So already I think it's starting to feel a bit more. Is it feeling right? I think it is. I don't know. It's so difficult to tell, isn't it? You've just got to just have faith. I'm going into the trees a little bit, just adding some of that colour to just put a little bit more colour in. I do like this brightness that we've got going on here. I really like that. So I'm adding another bit of, because you do get that in, you know, in a sunny day, it's a sunny day, you will get this bright, sort of very bright yellow, almost white actually, and I've got a bit of white on here, so I'm going to sort of add that, and I don't often do that, but I think this would benefit, and I'm going to put some in here. And so we've got some kind of interesting mark. I may be going too far with this and I might regret it, but I think we've got some, look at that immediately. Doesn't that just bring that flower to life? And you can just do some really interesting marks with this. I've lost that lovely darkness down here, and I think that was a mistake here. So I'm going to get some tissue. And because this, I think, is all dry, I think all this bit is just dry, I'm just going to wipe it off like that, because I think I quite like the fact that that was quite a nice dark passage there. You can do that, or of course you can just paint in a darker colour. And okay, so I've still got that lavender. Might be a bit too much of the dark going on everywhere. Always tricky, might go too far with everything, so I'll darken that down a bit. Don't want to do anything with that. Maybe put a little bit more in here. I've got rid of I've got the little bit of pink there. I've got some, I don't want it to be sort of obviously anything in particular. I mean, they do look like tulips. That looks like a very odd shaped tulip. And this is a bit too, I feel this is a bit too symmetrical. So let's just do something a bit crazy with that. Get that. It feels quite impressionistic now, doesn't it? I don't know if you feel that as well. It just feels a little bit impressionistic. Now I love the darkness going on here. So I'm going to do some more of that with blue, brown, green, maybe a little bit of Prussian blue. Prussian blue can be a bit tricky sometimes. And get some, no, that's not even dark enough, is it? Clean brush. I always have several brushes of the same kind of size, same shape. That's always useful to have. I'm going to mix up some purple, and it's going to be a mix of ultramarine blue and purple, and it's more ultramarine blue and crimson. It's more blue than, I wonder if crimson was the right colour. It's a bit too pink. Let's see what that looks like. Might work. And I'm just going to put in some little marks. Now it's mixing with the green, which makes quite an interesting colour. I'm not sure about that pink up there, or that pink there, I just don't know about it. I'm not keen on that colour at all, so I'm going to mix, maybe it was the crimson, it shouldn't have been crimson, that's a bit too red. So I'm going to mix, what am I going to mix? I've got a colour called quinacridone magenta. I haven't got much of it left, which is a more purple colour. It's a pink. It's a golden colour. It's a pink. But I'm going to mix that with ultramarine blue, and I think that's going to make the colour I want. I think I'm right in thinking that. I have, of course, lost my brush. There it is. So again, a little bit more blue than the, oh yes, that's it. Oh my goodness, is that it? I think it's it. Oh gosh, it makes, oof. I love it when you get a really amazing colour. And I think it's the combination. I think the quinacridone magenta, the golden colour, it's the manufacturer's golden, makes this, look at that. I don't know how well you can see it, but it's just sensational. And I'm going to add, it's just beautiful, I'm going to add, my goodness, a little bit of this into my flowers just to bring it to life a bit. I mean, colour can sometimes just wow you, can't it? That's just lifted some of those flowers. And if I add some white to that, you'll get this beautiful, now that's got more blue in it, so let's add a bit more blue to that. So it's more lavender. There we go, that's even more blue, I think. And a bit more white. So it's more of a, that golden magenta is so, it's got very high tinting strength, so you don't need much of it. Let's see what we've got here. That's it, that's it. So I want to get more of that just running through a little bit. And I think you can see that just a little bit of that colour, and maybe some, you don't know what that flower is. It could be a collection of flowers, it could be, I don't know, what could it be? It could be, I don't know. But that, I think we need more here, running through like that, as you can see it down here, going off at the end, just gives you a sort of a, I'm going to get rid of that because it's a horrible reddish colour. It leads the eye across the painting. And I kind of wonder if I want to just get rid of that, get rid of that. I'm not sure if that's the right thing to do, all that and that. Is it, does that make it a bit, that pink might have just lifted it a little bit. Let's just take that back again, very carefully, because I think I've got wet paint all around it. And just think about that. I'm going to go back to this lovely purple. I've now added a bit of white to it to get a variation in the colour, which I think is useful. That needs to be darker though. It's gone too light. It's lovely fiddling around with paint like this. When you get a colour that you really love, it's just gorgeous. And I love, oh my goodness, getting rid of that burgundy colour that I had in there. I mean, I've never seen a blue tulip. I've seen purple tulips. I've photographed purple tulips and they're absolutely gorgeous, but they have got that burgundy colour in, and I've now ruined it with my make-believe tulips, but I don't care. I'll better put a bit of it in, I think, maybe. Maybe I should send this to the breeders and say, hey, look, this makes a lovely colour for a tulip. Go for it, guys. See if you can replicate it. I'm going to get rid of that pink. It's driving me nuts. So I'm sort of getting rid of all the burgundy that I took an instant dislike to when I looked at this again. Yeah, so haven't done a lot. We've got this mark here, which is just too kind of, I'm going to say it, it's just too marky. Not such a word. I'm just going to bring in some different, something a bit different to just break that up a tiny bit. There we go. I love this tiny little, very sort of, what would you call it? A very, I can't think of the word. Subtle, that's the word. I mean, that's been used before. Subtle. Oh, it's one of those days. I'm just feeling my way around now. And I'm not kind of going crazy. It does feel very impressionistic, doesn't it? I think it's the fact that there's sort of dots of colour, and I often use quite a lot of lines, but let's get some. I kind of quite like that. I love that little bit of white that's coming through there. I want that darkness in here. That was the purple, but I don't think that works. I wonder if we do need another colour, or maybe we need some much lighter, like we've got here, some more lighter bits of purple coming in here, just to add variation, and it makes you wonder what you're looking at and what have you. How am I feeling about this? Oh, it's so tricky, isn't it? I think probably again, I'm just going to put a few little, maybe put a little bit of grey in here. I don't know, I think time to stop. One thing I am going to do, actually, is a little trick, which I quite like, is just get some, in this case it's probably not quite the right blue, I'm just going to try it, and you put in a little bit there, and that becomes a little bit of sky. Now, it's not the right blue because I used cerulean blue here, so I'm going to put a bit of cerulean out, just a tiny bit because we don't need much, and mix that with a bit of white to get that slightly greener blue that I've got. That's far too dark. I need white. Now I've got too much white, or have I? I don't know if I have actually. Yeah, that's pretty close. So instead of that, I'm putting in this, which is like the sky that you see through trees. And so that becomes more of a tree, an obvious tree. I'm going to do the same here, and I'm going to put a bit more. This is quite thin, this, so it might need a couple of goes. So now you've got more of a distinction between the trees and this bit here. That looks a bit weird, I don't know what's going on there. So I'm really just sort of kind of doing a few details just to kind of, I hope, enrich the painting, make more sense, make it more interesting. Very simple, nothing, you know, I mean, this isn't rocket science, is it? So we've got these various trees, but then none of them have got trunks. So you can't have trees that float in the air. Well, you can, because you can do anything if you paint. But I'm going to put in some darker, and you know, you could just go brown, but I think when you look at trees, you don't often necessarily see that. You might see something else. So I'm just going to put in the suggestion only of trunks. That's nowhere near dark enough. Seems to have gone a bit watery, this. Add a little bit of lighter brown, see what that does. And then just, you know, wherever you think there might be a trunk, then you just pop one in. Like that. There. Does that work? This is not very dark, is it? I don't know. Anyway, that's the general idea. I may now have got far too much in the way of purple tulips, but maybe that's the theme. You know, the theme is basically it's a I might just get rid of that. It's purple tulips. Who knows? Who knows? I quite like it now. I didn't like it before, and I think I quite like it now. Look at it from a distance. Yeah, I think that works. I think I might even go lighter here, and put some, be even bolder, and put some sort of swirly lines that mean absolutely nothing in themselves, but might indicate some really bright light just flashing into these tulips. I don't want that to be too obviously, there we go. So what's happened there is that we've got some dark going on there, which I'm going to make, I don't know what colour I've got going on there. Oh, it's a grey. Well, that's not dark enough for down there. I'm going to put in a bit of, no. Thought I'll put in some blue, that'll look good. No. So I'm going to put in that purple again. I really like that purple, but it's got, and I just want to get, you know, it's the combination of the dark colours and that hasn't had a lot of work on it, has it? So I'm going to go, I'm running out of brushes now. The reason I don't like to clean my brushes too much in the water is because the water gets really dirty and the brushes don't get clean, and then you mix all your colours together, and then you get that horrible dirty brown. So let's just, and I can see it happening as we speak. I just want to get some light going in here, and that's real lemony light colour, which looks lovely. Right, I'm not going to do anything else. I'm going to leave this, cover my palette, wash my brushes, and I may have overdone the purple, I grant you that, but it is a gorgeous colour. And see how I feel about it. I may just put a bit in here. I've just done that with my finger because all my brushes are dirty, and just to get rid of that. I really don't like that. Don't like that burgundy colour that I managed to get in there. I do quite like those flashes of blue though, you know. Maybe it was just too blue. I'm just trying. Oh, what's that? It's just a kind of, actually using your finger just adds that extra texture. Look, just you can pop in a few more things. You know, isn't that? Oh, that's exciting, isn't it? You can just keep going, can't you? But then you ruin it. So let's just stop and let's come back to it later and see where we are with it. So I've left this for a while. I did photograph it and cropped it so I just see that picture as I've just shown you. That really helps to identify any remaining problems. And there are a couple which I noticed immediately. I looked at the picture, and when I look at it now it's sort of less easy to see, but it's the two little dots here are far too similar. So I'm just going to grab a brush and a little bit of paint and just change that one. So that sorted that problem out. Really, two shapes that are very similar together always look a bit odd. Another thing that slightly bothers me is this shape here, which is, it just doesn't look right. So I'm just going to change it slightly. I need a bit more paint. Get rid of that. And I'm going to get my lovely purple, well, a purple, and I'm going to make that a bit lighter. Get a bit of white in that. That's quite grey. Come on. I'm running out of space. That's the problem. That's too red. That's too, no, that's it. There we go. That's much better. Can't help myself just painting a little bit of that. It's amazing that burgundy that I don't like seems to crop up every time it dries. I don't quite know where that is. Anyway, and then there's another thing that's slightly irritating, and it's these three dots here. So I'm just going to change it. So that's going to be less of one, and that's, so we've got kind of two things going on there. And standing back, that is much better, although I am going to make those trunks just a tiny bit more of sort of just more trunk-like, because there's just not a lot going on with them. Maybe a little bit of darker green up here. Darker green, come on, darker green. What do I need? There we go. A little bit. And I just, again, keeping it terribly loose. And I think I'm going to leave it at that. Yeah. Done. I hope you enjoyed that video. I loved making it. As you can see, the process of painting is multi-layered in many, many ways. Anyway, if you did enjoy it, please do visit again. It's lovely having you in my studio. If you're interested in learning how to paint more expressively, I've written a book on how to paint flowers expressively in acrylics. It's got 15 of my photographs that you can use as a basis for your paintings. I've got step-by-step guides, lots and lots of tips and techniques, and it will enable you, with practice, to learn how to paint expressively. Let me show you. There are lots of photographs and lots of information. So head over to Amazon or to the link in the description of this video and grab yourself a copy. Bye for now.